The Chalkboard Promise in the small town of Willow Creek, nestled between rolling fields and winding rivers, stood an old red brick high school. Its hallways echoed with generations of voices, and in room 214, a chalkboard stretched across the front wall, always dusted white with the words of a teacher named Mrs. Evelyn Carter. Mrs. Carter wasn't the loudest or strictest teacher, but she was the one students remembered. She had a habit. Every morning before the first bell rang, she wrote a quote on the chalkboard. Sometimes it was from a famous writer, sometimes from a local hero, sometimes just her own words. The message was always simple, but it carried weight. You are more than your mistakes. Hope is stronger than fear. Be the reason. Someone smiles today. Most kids walk past without thinking much of it. But one student, Daniel Miller, quiet 16-year-old, clung to those words like a lifeline. The struggles no one, so Daniel wasn't failing school. But he wasn't thriving either. His father had left when he was young, and his mother worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. Most nights, Daniel ate dinner alone. Most mornings, he walked to school with a heaviness no teenager should carry. Teachers saw a boy who didn't raise his hand. Students saw someone who kept to himself. But Mrs. Carter saw the way he lingered on the chalkboard before sitting down, as if the words written there were the only thing holding him together. One winter morning, when the sky was gray and snow piled high against the windows, Daniel read the day's message. Your story isn't finished yet. He copied it into the margins of his notebook, underlining it 3 times. A silent promise. Weeks passed, and Daniel faced darker moments. There were nights when the loneliness felt unbearable. Nights when he wondered if anyone would notice if he wasn't there tomorrow. But each morning, he walked into room 214. Each morning, he read the chalkboard. And though he never said it aloud, he made a promise to himself. If Mrs. Carter believes there's more to my story, I'll give tomorrow a chance. He never told her. He never told anyone. Time moves and years slipped by. Daniel graduated, left Willow Creek, and built a life for himself. He studied hard, worked harder, and eventually became a counselor helping teenagers who carried burdens like he once did. But through all the years, he never forgot room 214. He never forgot the chalkboard, and he never forgot the teacher whose words had primed, saved him when he needed them most. The return it was 20 years later when Daniel walked back through the doors of Willow Creek High. His shoes echoed against the same tiled floors, but now he wore a suit and carried the confidence of a man who had survived storms. He wasn't here as a student anymore, was here as the guest speaker for the school's annual career day. As he waited in the auditorium, he caught sight of Mrs. Carter, older now, her hair silver but her smile unchanged. She recognized him instantly. Daniel Miller, she said, her eyes lighting up. I always knew you'd do something meaningful. He smiled, but emotion tightened his throat. I don't think you realize how much you did for me, the confession later during his speech. Daniel stood on the stage in front of rows of students who looked just like he once had, some eager, some tired, some silently struggling. He told them about his journey, about challenges, about nearly giving up. Then he said, there was a teacher who changed everything for me, though she never knew it. Every morning she wrote something on the chalkboard. It might not have seemed like much, but those words, they gave me hope when I had none. They gave me the courage to believe tomorrow could be better. The auditorium was silent. Mrs. Carter's hand covered her mouth, tears glistening in her eyes. He turned toward her. Mrs. Carter, your chalkboard saved me, and I promised myself, because of you, that I would live to see what came next. Today, I want to say thank you for helping me keep that promise. The students erupted in applause, but Mrs. Carter simply wiped her tears, overwhelmed. Full circle after the event, Mrs. Carter walked with Daniel back to room 214. The chalkboard was still there, still waiting for the morning's message. She handed him the chalk. Would you do the honors? Daniel hesitated, then stepped forward. In big, steady letters, he wrote, "Your story isn't finished yet." He turned back to her. "I think it's time the next generation sees the words that once saved me." Double quotes. Mrs. Carter nodded, her voice breaking. "And maybe, someday, one of them will return to say the same to you." Moral of the story: the Chalkboard Promise reminds us that words matter. A small Justera quote on a board, a kind smile, a moment of encouragement can plant hope in someone's heart at the exact moment they need it most. We may never know who is clinging to the little things we do, but those little things might be the reason someone chooses to keep going, because sometimes the greatest promises aren't spoken out loud. They're written quietly in chalk and carried forever in the hearts of those who needed them.